All right, in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to episode 51 of the Have We Made It Yet podcast. Again, this is the podcast where two creatives and their guest talk about the process of making it. My name is Lucas Singh, the actor portion of this podcast, and I'm joined by my co-host.
The co-host, comedian portion of this podcast, Josh Yang. That's my name.
Nice. And, we're just going to get right into it because this is a really monumental episode, in my opinion. And I think you'll probably agree with me, Josh.
I do. I absolutely agree. I agree with you 100% of the time, all the time.
I'm batting at 100% with you.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we wouldn't be able to do a podcast without, agreeing on most things.
Wow.
So,
I'm not even at 100% with my girlfriend, and I live with her.
Well, you don't have a podcast with your girlfriend, so I feel like this relationship is, a little bit more. There's more at stake.
There's more at stake aside from half my shit.
Yeah. We just get together for an hour a week, and it's pivotal. It's pivotal.
It is. It's actually great for my mental health. But as is the namesake of this podcast, as is tradition, as is why we do this show, Mr. Josh Yang, the comedian, Mr. Josh Yang. And if you can answer again with a humorous remark.
Yes.
Mr. Josh Yang, have you made it yet?
I have not made it yet. And in terms of humorous remarks, I feel like, in general, I make humorous remarks, but I don't have a joke. I've been catching up on a lot of comedic podcasts, kind of seeing where things at. And I do want to bring this up in the sense that it seems like with a lot of comedians, with lockdown and everything happening, things aren't opening up. It feels like now, I just want to touch upon this in terms of comedians making it. It feels like now the world, in the comedy world, is descending upon Austin, Texas, because, the restrictions there are less stringent. People there are just in general a little bit more opened up. So with Joe Rogan as well going there, moving his podcast there, Dave Chappelle doing shows there recently as well. And then now it's just an exodus of comedians from LA and New York. Now it seems like Austin is now the epicenter of comedy, if not in North America, then say the world, potentially, right? So I even know of a couple Toronto comedians that decided to just go down to Austin because I see them on their social media, and it's that's where the place to be is right now.
Yeah.
For comedy, for that comedy scene, because nowhere else is really doing comedy on a scale. So it seems like that's going to be an element where the Austin comedy scene is going to be the place where you have a chance of making it outside of New York and LA. So, in the future, I mean, we were supposed to go to Austin earlier last year, and I wanted to do some open mics there. But, now it seems like in the future, Austin should be a trip for a lot of comedians because that's where all the big comedic players are now going.
Yeah. Dude, let's tear it up in Austin, Josh. Let's take this podcast on the road.
Oh, yeah, that would be kind of be interesting. We can figure out to find somebody there. But okay, that's my spiel. Either way, hey Lucas, I gotta ask you that question then. Have you made it yet?
No, not yet. You know what? I had a great realization today because this week has been a bamboozle of a week. Unfortunately, some people have had to call in sick at work, and I work at a grocery store. So as a result, I've had to pick up a lot of their hours. It's not bad. I get to make more money and everything like that. And money as a performer and as an actor is, very important because you need your side gig to fund your passions and your creative projects. But, I had a realization as I was they have this thing called spotting at every grocery store. It's basically when the load of 300 pieces comes, be it your potatoes, your onions, your big ass watermelons and all that stuff, heavy stuff, right? So you got to spot all those items, which is basically carry all those items from the receiving end and then bring it to the cooler. It's a long walk. It's a lot of muscle work and everything like that. But I had a realization as I was doing this, you know, and this job has afforded me a lot of time to just think and reflect as I'm doing like mindless labor. It's there is still honor in honest work,
Mm.
so long as you're still pursuing what you like to do, you know, whatever you like to do, make sure you put honesty in it because, you know, everyone can have their passions and we can't always do our passions all the time, but make sure you still have honesty and integrity in everything that you do. Because at the end of the day, you know, I spotted 300 items and I got a good swole workout out of it, man. And
So,
I felt good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
No,
anyways, I haven't made it yet, but you know, on there and auditions are picking up again. And I was memorizing lines as I was spotting things. So it felt good. Felt very good.
nice. That's part of the. It's, you know, it's not all glamour. It's grocery sometimes
It's groceries.
in the making it world.
And who doesn't need groceries?
Who doesn't? I mean, if anything, we all. That's the only thing we're allowed to do. Groceries. Go get groceries.
I'll see you at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Dude, we have a third panel today.
We do have a third panel.
Oh my god. Nothing but like for episode 51, like this next guest though. It's kind of an odd story just because I met him like a few years back, almost like close to 5 years back now. I remember me and my friends, we wanted to go to Republic back in Vancouver. And through some odd circumstantial thing in this world that just put our lives together, our next guest was the one who hooked me and my buddies up. He got us like a cool bottle of champagne and all that stuff. And you know, to this day, I still look back at that night and it's like, wow, just the people that you do meet in Vancouver are still really special too. So flash forward to recently, within about like the last 2 years, I saw our guest start slowly building up and like making a name for himself in the acting game. And from then I just realized I had to get him on the show because just watching him from past interviews, he's incredibly honest with his craft, all the highs and lows and all the work involved in being great. He's incredibly generous and giving to me as I felt firsthand his generosity as he's answered my many acting questions about the acting game. His grit, authenticity, determination, and positivity, I'm sure will shine on through tonight as we talk to him later on in a second. He has appeared in numerous TV movies and Christmas movies, such as Merry Little, Liddle, Christmas Wedding, alongside Kelly Rowland, and Disney's Upside Down Magic. You might know him best as the BET series regular, Agent Bryant Rollins, in Tyler Perry's Ruthless. Please give it up for Jaime Callica.
Hey.
Hey, that was an intro right there.
Yeah,
Man,
dude.
That was amazing. I need to add you to my PR team. That sounded beautiful.
You know, I'd be honored to, Jaime. I'd be honored to, man.
All right, when we're done this year, I need you to redo my IMDb bio. That sounded wonderful. Thank you. A lot of kind words. I appreciate that.
No problem, man. As we start off with every episode, though, Jaime, have you made it yet?
Not yet.
Not yet.
And I will have made it the day that my mom looks at me and says, "Okay, Jay, you've made it." There's like a bit of a joke, you know, let's start from 0 credits.
Okay.
You book 1, 2, 3 as you build. And as the roles went from very, very small roles to small, slightly less small to like medium to larger to leads and so on and so forth, I always tell my mom first, and then we would always celebrate, whether it be a celebratory dinner or a celebratory bottle of wine, whatever it may be. And there will be times, say I booked the job on a Monday, the Tuesday, hypothetically, she'll say to me, "Oh, I need you to come and help me do ... at the house."
Oh.
And I'll be like, "Oh, I don't want to rake." And she'd be like, "You haven't made it yet. You're not that big yet.
Oh,
come and rake."
yeah.
And I'll go, and I go, but it'll be a sweet moment the day that she just looks at me and goes, "All right, you made it."
Okay.
It's gonna take her it'll take her endorsement.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a really kind of a touching moment, because like we all wonder when we're gonna make it. We have like goalposts ourselves that we kind of set. It's nice for you to have that kind of sounding board where you trust the other person's opinion, and it's like when they feel like something is is big. Something has happened. Something has changed. Like they're able to like really get you to reorient where you are. That sounds that's really beautiful to have.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Mhm.
I'm really looking forward. I'm tired of her telling me that I'm not there.
Yeah.
If for no other reason, for some variety. Like I'm tired of being put down. Not that big yet. All right, Mom. All right. I get it. I'm not that big yet. All right.
Man, not too big enough to rake yet, man.
Nah, I'm still putting out garbage. I'm still raking.
Just keeping you humble. Keeping you humble.
That she does.
Yeah.
You have a mom from Trinidad. If you have a West Indian mom, they don't play. And we have Asian. You guys have Asian moms. Like they're not playing. They love you, but they're not letting you know they love you that much. They're just they're okay with you thinking that sometimes they kind of don't like you.
Yeah.
That's West Indian moms,
Keeps you on your toes, man.
Always.
Yeah. As a follow-up to that, though, what would be your it in making it?
Be more specific.
In the acting game, would you want to work with a specific director or like a co-star? Yeah.
I think for me, there are there's levels to that one for me. I've been playing the supporting lead in a lot of Hallmarks and Lifetimes. I've been number 3 on the call sheet, number 4 a bunch of times now over the last few years. So in that, like if we were to call it lanes, in that lane, when I'm number 1 and number 2, which is going to happen this year, I can feel it. We're close. I will have made it in the Hallmark Lifetime world.
Okay.
In television, it will be whether I'm the title character, like number 1, or say number 2, one of the, like the show can't live without me characters,
right,
on a successful show. In television, I feel like I will have made it. Where it comes to feature films, when I get to work with one of the, I really look forward to. For some people, they want to work with I want to work with Scorsese and Spielberg and the and Christopher Nolan, these big directors, of course, because the work that they put out, typically is quite good. But for me, it's less about just working with like a name director. I've worked with great directors to this day that I hope to continue to work with. The one thing that I look forward by way of say big feature films is making a movie that stands the test of time. I want to make my Dark Knight. You know what I mean? I want to make my, of course I would love to play the first Black Bond, but if I can make one movie that people can watch in 50 years over and over and over, then by way of that job, I will have made it in that lane. Yeah. And if I am able to, cultivate a career that I'm able to stay in my respective lanes, being a lead on my Hallmarks, having successful television shows and making movies that people continue to watch, I've made it.
Dude, it really sounds like a legacy is really important to you then, in terms of like finding content that stands the test of time.
Yeah, I really, I was going to say something that was going to, without explanation would sound kind of pretentious, but like I want Callica to stand the test of time. But not just because I'm not because I will be a great actor. I want it to be for I want people to just be like, that dude was kind, and you look at bodies of work by certain actors, and the ones that are truly beloved are the people that were just nice.
Yeah.
Like you look at, I'm not going to say the person that's not nice because I don't know that they're not nice, but like look at actor A whom puts out great work, but is, just a great actor. And then look at actor B in like a Will Smith or The Rock, and they're just so beloved. You know what I mean? Because you could just see that dude on the street. And of course, if you could penetrate like his layer of security, that he will take a photo with you. He will just like chat with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's that I want to be my legacy and say my passing. It was just, yeah, he made great movies, but like I remember that one time, and it's gonna be just like a story of kindness or trying to spread some measure of kindness. Because man, there's tons of, I say this all the time, there are tons of dope actors. There are tons of pretty people. But like if you could be all that and have some substance, you're gonna be memorable.
Yeah.
And that's what I strive for.
No, that's That's powerful.
Like even
I
the
love
story you said you meant how many times have you been to a club, right? And my club nights, again, not to be pretentious, my club nights did better than everybody else's club nights because I genuinely cared about making sure the patrons had a good time. That was my mantra.
Yeah.
So if it's raining out and it's my club night and I'm outside and I see a group of ladies because the security were just like holding the line, I would just go inside, grab an umbrella, bring it outside. Like I don't walk them right in, okay? But I give them an umbrella so they stay dry. I give them my card and I say, hey, listen, next time, shoot me a text or call. I'll put you on my guest list, and therefore I can put you over here. I'll come outside and walk you in, so on and so forth. And they did. And from there, every single Friday or Saturday, I built my business because of just simple kindness. You treat people nice. What are they going to do? You're going to go to the club that like they hold you outside in the rain, or you're going to go to the place that person treats you nicely.
Exactly.
And I built my business on just like simple kindness.
Yeah. No, that sounds like a great approach, because I feel like when it comes to comedians talking about making it, right, there are some that like you can see that they're kind of in it for try to get into the fame, or they think they're all that. But then there's another portion of the successful people who have a similar approach, and sometimes it's that approach that helps you focus on what you need to do, instead of like getting lost in the glitz and the glamour. And it's like focusing on the craft, focusing on the passion.
Right.
And it sounds like you have that as well, that focus on understanding what your role is, what your job is, and really taking that kind of careful attention to detail to that. And I'm wondering, like, where do you feel like you got that kind of sensibility, that approach to your work, your craft from?
I'll start by saying this. Don't get me wrong. Like my inner dialogue or the conversations I have with Argentina, my girl Carla in Toronto, my boy Birch, and my mom or my team is that I'm going to be the best and I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be big, but it's not fame for fame's sake. It's so that I have a greater platform to then spread the kindness. You know what I mean? I want that too, but any director or producer, there's people like if you were to really dig deep into my work over say the last 3 years, where I booked 30 credits. There's like one of my main directors, Michael Scott. I've done 4 or 5 movies with him. Producers, Galen, and some certain producers I've done. They've cast me a number of times. Like my body of work is kind of made up of like 4 directors and like 4 different producers that are like, yo, we love this guy. And directors and producers and networks want to work with people that they like, that they can be around for 13 hours a day for however long you have to shoot, than people that are like maybe as good an actor, but like you that are trash that you can't stand being around. And I know that like simple principle of like, if people want to be around you, you're going to get the job. You know what I mean? So both my mom keeping me humble, and then just the realization that I can do better in this business of people.
Yeah.
Right.
Entertainment business is a business of people. It really, you get to a point where everybody is like 88 to like 94% proficient as an actor. We can all deliver the lines relatively well. After that, it really boils down to like who likes you as a person.
Yeah.
As a person. And you look at actors in Hollywood, that, I mean, I'm not trying to slander her here, but you look at Megan Fox, and she did an interview, how many years ago, where she called, not Brockheimer, what's his name? Transformer.
Michael Bay, I think.
Michael Bay.
Yeah.
She said, they were like, oh, what's it like working with Michael Bay? And she was like, oh, he's intense, da-da-da. It's kind of like working for Hitler.
That's a bad soundbite.
And they fired her. You can't compare Michael Bay to Hitler and then think that they're going to keep you on that movie. And it took replacing her and her begging and all sorts of stuff. And her career's never really like gotten back to like what it was doing before that comment. And she was a lot to work with. You read articles about certain people and they're like a lot to work with. And then at some point they're like, it's just too much work. It's just not worth it.
Not worth the headache, for sure.
Not worth the headache. You know what I mean?
Definitely, man. And based on the question about your craft and everything, I was watching an interview with you that you had mentioned earlier, that earlier on in your acting career, you couldn't book a job to save your life, basically. And it wasn't within about like 3 years ago, 3 to 4 years ago, that you made some adjustments in your life to really propel you to what we are seeing today. What was that turning point in your life that made you do those adjustments?
I got cheated on by my ex-girlfriend.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Whoa.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna get an Oscar or an Emmy, and against my PR team's like strong suggestion, I'm gonna thank that cheating chick for doing that, because that turned my whole life around.
Whoa.
They're gonna be like, don't, Jamie, don't, like, I'm with AGPR, Anderson Group. Shout out Anderson Group. And they're gonna be like, don't do it. Don't say that on Kimmel. Just don't, please, just don't. And I'm gonna do it. I don't care. I'm telling you guys right now, I'm going to do it, because if that doesn't happen, maybe I get here, but it probably takes more time. And basically, I got cheated on, and I started to assess. I thought that I treated her really nicely. Like, I thought I treated her well, and I think I did, but I wasn't perfect. And I thought that I was. And then I started to assess, okay, well, if you got that wrong, what else could you be doing wrong in your life?
Okay.
And then I was like, all right, let's look at how you talk to your friends at times. Yeah, I'm a hothead. I'm a Scorpio. Fine. But do you have to talk? Like, they're not your kids. You have to talk. No. Okay. How patient are you with your mom? Time's not that patient. Okay. How entitled do you feel you are in this business because you're a handsome black guy and everybody keeps telling you that you're going to be a star because of your face? I feel pretty entitled. I feel like they should just be handing me stuff. Okay. How often are you running your lines in the car or in the room at that audition? Every single one, which means I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared. And in the end of 2015, I realized that I was doing a lot wrong. Not well, not efficiently, like wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
And in that, I had this epiphany, and it was from basically the end of 2015, early 2016, that in embodying that I needed to work harder, smarter, faster than everyone else in the business, and moreover on myself, that's when I started to book work. But prior to that, like much like you just said, I booked when I first started, signed with my agent, and I signed on a Wednesday, and then went in for the meeting. They loved me. I loved them. Cool. So on Thursday, I get my first audition, which is Friday.
Okay.
First two, excuse me. Both of them, I got put on hold for. I was shortlisted for both of them. And I swear to you, God is my witness. I told every one of my friends, I'm going to be an A-list celebrity in no time. Like, in no time, okay? My first two auditions, I got shortlisted for. I booked neither of them, and then it took a year of auditioning like 5 to 7 times a week before I got my first job. Now, that would normally be a bad statistic by itself. It gets worse. My next booking was a year to the day later.
Wow.
So in my first 3 years, because it's really what you've quantified is like I started, took a year, took another year. First 3 years, I had 2 credits.
I mean, it's a long game.
It wasn't good.
God damn. But at least you still have patience. Because, I mean, I know many people that would have given up. Yeah,
no, I didn't have. I'll tell you that. I did not have patience. What I had was perseverance. I had at the time, not even nearly as much as now, the desire, because I was in business. I had amassed, I had a few stores downtown. I had some real estate. So from a business perspective, I was doing quite well. And I just woke up. This one day I woke up and I was like, I want to act. So I spent a year to sell everything through 2012. So 2013 is like when I start. It was the most stressful year of my life. I had sacrificed a lot. My mom left her job to come and work with me, which makes her self-employed, which my goal is to retire her. So she's an accounting. She would do all the books and the scheduling, do a lot. She was monumental in my business. But when you work for yourself, so in selling the business, you have to go back and like work for someone. And that was hard. That sucked for me to do that to her. So I had sacrificed a lot of comfort in my life to pursue this goal of like being an actor. So after 3 years, you only have 2 bookings, but you've auditioned hundreds of times. It was really like you got to keep going, dude. You can't turn back now.
Yeah. which leads me into my next question that I really want to ask you about your self-determination, really. So like from seeing many different interviews with you, like your ability to listen and to be keenly aware of your purpose is something that I, really admire about you. For example, like you already said, you understood that your former business was not fulfilling the why in your life. So instead you pursued acting, and that has not totally fulfilled the why from interviews that I've seen from you, because your thing is more about, exuding positivity and being nice and acting as a form of that. But so yeah, you pursued acting, and I'm just wondering, how have you managed to build that trust within yourself and to listen to what your heart says instead of what is more practical?
Um, par- that's a dope question because
Hmm.
I'm pretty okay. How do I say this so it sounds more helpful than the way I'm thinking it?
Oh.
A lot of people will never reach their max potential because they simply don't try.
Mhm.
And I was at a barbecue with one of my buddies, and his dad was there. He's an old school dude from the South in the States, and we're all at the table. We're getting drunk. Middle of the day, summer, a couple years ago, 3 years ago, and he came over just randomly. It was like he was just dropping off a nugget.
Yeah.
And he said, he just walks over and he goes, he's drunk too, right? Old guy, old black man with lots of, like, lived a lot of life. He just walks over and he goes, whatever, anything that's going wrong in your life, that's your fault. And then just walked away. And I was like, I was kind of harsh. That was a downer. Like, we were listening to music, we're drinking. It was a great time. And, I thought about that for like 3 days straight. 3 days. It was like the only thing, like, a girl called me, want to hang out? I'm like, nah, I'm thinking. Like, that's all I thought about for 3 days. And he was right. He was right, because we have the capacity to change it. But most often people don't. They simply choose not to. They're complacent in their own, I won't say failure, but in their lack of successes.
Okay.
Because we are all pretty much born, I would say, with the equal opportunity, barring, say, mental or physical, extraordinary mental or physical disabilities, right? Which may hinder you. If you're in a wheelchair and you want to play in the NBA, it's not going to happen for you, unfortunately. But barring something that is like of that nature, most often people will limit themselves and their own potential greatness because they're too afraid to start, to try.
Right.
So for me, once I decide that I'm going to do something, I just don't stop until I do it. Wow. And so on my Ask Jay a Question Day Wednesday, or on the internet and DMs or whatever, I get hundreds a day, okay? And I look forward to when it's thousands a day, but I try to answer as many of them as possible. But people say, what keeps you so positive and motivated? And I say, a goal. Now, it's not, what happens with a lot of people is this: you become dissatisfied with the thing that you got that you wanted. So you wanted that X3 BMW. Right. And you saved and you saved and you saved and you saved. You got your credit score up. You did whatever you had to do. You paid your debt down. Then you get the X3, but now you're on the road and all you see is the X5, like the big brother. And now you want the X5. You just got the X3 that you wanted for like 2 years, but now you want the X5. It's all you see on the road. So now you open that account, you start putting $100 a week or whatever it is because you want to get that X5. What happens is you're never satisfied. You get that house. You went from renting, you buy the condo. Oh, now you want a townhouse. No, now you want a house. You're never satisfied. For me, I will set new goals the second I accomplish my goal, but it's never the same. And that's been important for me. So I will say I want to be number 3 on a Hallmark. I accomplished that goal. Now it's I want to read 5 books this year. It's an unrelated goal. I want to take, after that, it's like I want to take my mom to Italy. After that, it's like I ... So that it's not all about just re-upping on the thing that you wanted. You have to enjoy it. And when I booked my first series regular role, I prayed on it, right? I prayed and I prayed and I worked hard my whole career to become a series regular. I booked it. I started doing all this press. And they said, what's next for you? And I was like, nothing. I want to enjoy this. I want to enjoy, all I asked God for was this role. Why would I then be like, oh, I want to go and like, I want to be a superhero now. No, man. Like I want to enjoy this. I want season 2 of this. I want season 3 of this. You know what I mean? Like I didn't ask for anything where it came to TV. I haven't prayed on that. It was like, okay, cool. In the movie realm, in the earnings department, other areas, fine. But like, I asked for that.
Mm-hmm.
And a
No
lot of
doubt.
times people will, if you want to be a painter or a dentist or an engineer, whatever it may be, the excuse will be, well, I have bills to pay. Everybody has bills to pay. Listen, man, like I had to, I couldn't afford a car. My ex-girlfriends had to drive me around. I had to borrow my mom's car. I was a grown adult and I couldn't afford a car because I'm doing background work. I'm bartending. I was a terrible bartender, but I made the necessary sacrifices so that every penny I made, I could continue to like at least pay my mortgage on my house, and I could have some food on the table. But I made the necessary sacrifices, and a lot of people aren't willing to make the necessary sacrifices. Then you live a life that's 72%. You never reach your potential because you were never like willing to just try, never willing to just start. I tell people all the time, just start, just try. I'll give you one more just on this while we're here. I always say this.
Oh yeah, please.
Imagine if your dream, right? And I wrote it beautiful. I should almost just read it. But imagine if your dream was on the other side of a large body of water, right? What looks like the horizon. Okay. And if I told you, as long as you kept swimming, you would never drown. And you would accomplish the goal. You would get to the other end of the ocean, the other side. You will reach the horizon where the ocean and the sky meet. You will get there, but you just have to keep swimming. It doesn't have to be fast. Just keep swimming. But if you stop even for a minute, the strong current will pull you back to the shore. You will then look at how much further you have to go because you've just been swept back, and you will stop. What would you do? You would never stop swimming. Right? But you had to get in the water.
Yeah.
And most people think when I tell that story, they go, oh, okay, keep swimming, keep swimming. I'm like, no, get in the water. Most people will never get in the water. I had to sell 4 businesses and all my real estate just to get in the water.
I hear you.
You know what I mean?
It's the initial sacrifice that you have to do to get wet, man.
Yeah, get wet. And don't not wet with like a wetsuit and a life jacket and all that stuff. Man, with no swimming lessons, get in the water.
Yeah.
I just told you you're not going to drown. You cannot drown. Just get in the water and then start swimming and you'll be all right. You'll be all right.
Yeah. I love that story because at the same time, it kind of resonates with me. Like I left a full-time secure job and everything like that because I realized it wasn't for me. And then I essentially quit my job to work at a grocery market to now fund this acting adventure that I'm on. And it's terrifying at times, like the swimming that you do, it's terrifying, but you realize that there is something beyond the horizon that is there. And it's a lot more closer in line with your goals than what was formerly your former life.
100%.
Yeah.
And really and truly what I've found is if you're trying at the thing you love, it's more fulfilling than not trying at that thing you hate.
It's totally.
You know what I mean? It's like, I tell a lot of people, that have been acting longer than me. I'm like, you didn't do any background work? Oh, okay. Like the amount that I learned in background or standing. Okay, right now, I'm on a show right now that's got cast. Okay. And was it the script supervisor or was it? No. It was B camera operator came up to me and he said, I did something and then we cut and it was in between. We're going to go to the net. We're going to do it again. And he said, hey, have you ever like operated a camera? Have you ever been like on the crew side? And I said, no. He's like, man, your technical knowledge is pretty high. And I said, yeah, like when I started, I did a lot of background. I stood in a bit because that's all the stuff they don't teach you in class. And we were talking, because what happened is we were shooting the scene. And so, it was my coverage. The camera's facing me and she's here and she was in the way, like she overshot her mark a bit and so therefore is blocking the camera, blocking the light. And all I did was I just put all my weight on my left hip to find the light and the lens. Yeah. I can feel it. I don't have to look at it. I can feel it. It's a big camera. It's a big red camera. Like, you know what I mean? But this means we don't have to go again. Staying here means we do. Right? Little technical things.
I love that.
So you gotta you gotta work at your thing to be the best at it. But you will, as long as you're working at that thing, whatever it is, you will accomplish your goal. You will 100% will accomplish your goal.
Exactly. And that leads me again to, I love these segues because this is flowing so smoothly. I was watching your self-tape for Agent Brian Rollins there that you posted up on Instagram. Yeah. Incredible self-tape just because like, yeah, it was lit incredibly well. Your delivery, your scene partner was great too. What I loved about the most was it really brought me into the scene, and it just made me really feel as if I was in the scene, and to the point where you were just really listening to your scene partners so that her words affected you, even though you knew her lines probably too, right? If I could ask, and I think it's an issue for me or for many different actors too, do you have any tips on genuine listening?
That's a great question. That's a problem for both for the acting, and I'll touch on that, which I'll come back to that. But humans typically don't listen; they wait to talk.
Yeah.
And I like I said earlier, I'm a bit of a hothead. My original aspiration was to go to law school. I want to be a lawyer because I'm a great arguer. Okay, I love arguing. I just love it. I shouldn't, but I'm petty and I love arguing. I want to be right. I want to win. It's ridiculous. It's actually so ridiculous, but I don't care. I'm who I am.
Hey, that would make you a great comedian as well. A lot of comedians is like law. You got to understand your argument. You got to be able to like dissect where people are coming from, the crux of the problem.
Yeah. So that's kind of been a thing for me with people, especially when I would be arguing, say with like an ex-girlfriend, that they were just waiting. And I'd be like, yo, can you just let me say, like, listen to me, so versus just sitting there fuming, waiting to talk. So when I started acting, when I had the breakup, the cheating on situation, and I was starting to pull things from what nugget do I got to take from this class? What do I got to take from here? What do I got to do everywhere? That was one thing that hit me. I was like, oh, you're listening. And I remembered once in class, Jeb Beach, my coach, he said, if you do nothing in an audition room but affect the reader, you've succeeded. So if you throw them off, if they get so drawn in where you're saying all your stuff and they're just like, but Johnny, and you've affected them, you've won. And every arc of a scene goes win, lose, win, or lose, win, lose. So at some point, as long as you get that win back from that reader, you've won that audition. You've impressed casting, you've impressed the producers.
Right.
And that really requires oftentimes listening, active listening. And I say the best actors in the world. You look at the Don Cheadles and the Matt Damons and the Denzel Washingtons and the Viola Davises, and it's in their eyes, right?
Okay.
There's a depth to the scenes through their eyes. Yeah, of course, delivery and character creation and all these and writing has helped their careers drastically, but through their eyes. And I realized that pretty quickly, that oftentimes when we're most impacted, they're not speaking.
True.
So when I started to really actively listen and I started to be put on hold or book work, I realized that in some of my auditions, some of my best auditions are when my character doesn't have a ton of dialogue and the other side does, and you have to still keep them captivated by just how you actively listen. Gotcha. And I'm looking into the lens. I don't know if it reads or not on this my computer here, but it would, no matter what it is, I'll be here and I'm staring at my reader, and I'll allow moments where if they say something that's insightful to be like, and then you come back and it's about like really, really organically hearing what they're saying for the first time. If you're hearing it for the first time, you're never going to step on them because you're not waiting to talk. Unless it's written that you're supposed to cut them off, but if you're actively listening to what they say and then you, the performer, hear it for the first time, then imagine when you go to speak, what that's going to sound like. Or what it's going to look like. It's going to be beautiful, right? Yeah. Like, and speaking to the audition, one of the parts that I love about my audition for Ruthless was she said, "Well, we did whatever in college," and man, you'd swear that was the first take. You'd swear I'd never heard that line before. I might have only done one or two takes before that, but in my face, I'm like, we were in college. It's not the same thing. PCP, you're a grown adult. You know what I mean? But if I'm waiting, if I'm in my head, I'm just waiting to go, we were in college. It's not the same. You're not going to get all the we were in you're not going to get the same delivery of that line that you might have already said 50 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was the listening, the actual
Mhm.
waiting to hear it for the first time that made that line sound good, which then drew you in to
Yeah.
the performance because you're like, oh, yo. And that was my favorite line in that whole audition. I think that booked me the job right there, that line.
Amazing. Because definitely, yes, that line, because within that split, maybe 1 second to half a second, it's years of history that you're probably replaying in your head as the performer or as the character there. So, and yes, I just love those pauses because you actually let it affect you, or at least that's how I perceived it.
100%.
It was
Like
beautiful.
I've been, my boy Birchie's on his come up, and I you know, I'll say I taught him, you know, off the top, I'll say, listen, build in just a couple of beats. A lot of times, you know, we get, whether we're in the room or in a tape, and I'll tell you and any other actors watching, just, you don't have to start talking right away. In real life, it never really goes like that. You know what I mean? It's okay to, whether you walk into the scene or if you start the scene, it's okay to kind of just be like, so look, I like you versus I like you. Like rolling, I like you. It's okay to just allow your body to like feel for where like I know we've been friends for a long time, but I remember the first line is I like you. But you can do that. You're not gonna not get the job because you put a piece of like ad lib on it to make it more believable.
Right.
Right. So that's like another little nugget in just allowing your character to just breathe a bit. Don't rush it.
Yeah.
You want to stick to what they've written because oftentimes it's written the way it's written for a reason. That's gone up. Like a writer wrote it, they bought it. The producer, like the network, Mar Vista or Disney or whoever, has now hired a supervisor, and that goes up. Now you have like staff writers, and then like the head of creative reads it and goes, "All right, cool, let's send this out." Like a lot of people touch that, so don't change the whole script, but.
Yeah.
If you have moments where you could build in a certain little je ne sais quoi to like make it yours, it stands out.
Yeah,
Love
no,
that.
I agree wholly with that. And like, you know, I hear a lot in terms of actors is like acting is a good portion, reacting. Acting is reacting.
100%.
And it's that element of like understanding when something feels right, and then like when you coming in, you nail that rhythm, you nail that like, you know, in comedic terms or whatever, like the punchline, right?
Yeah.
And like in terms of comedy, 100%, that's like, if anything, most of it is reacting, because whatever you say, you can only react to what the audience gives you. If the audience laughs at your joke, then you take that and then you can play with it. Or if they don't laugh with the joke, then you got to somehow get them back with some other stuff. So it's like that's all acting, reacting. I'm wondering then, in terms of like how you try to embody like your roles and like keep that through line, do you have kind of an approach to how you get into that emotional center of your characters to make sure that you're reacting consistently, to make sure that what you're doing is the most accurate portrayal?
Yeah, you know, that's a dope question. So in one of my very first classes with my guy Jeb Beach, he got up on a chair, just like a normal plastic chair, and he was sitting. He had his feet like on the chair, and he was sitting on the back, and his shoes were off, he's in his socks, and he's eating an apple. So we all did the scene one time. He talks a little bit, then you do it a second time. He's eating this apple. I've told this story a million times, but I love it. And he said, like, I don't like going to a lot of these actor like functions and red carpets because they're just like everybody's like speak like all the whole conversation's like, oh, what are you busy? What have you booked? Is your agent? Who are you with again? And they're so precious. They and thou. He's like, listen, people. It's not that precious. It's not that precious. Yes, you have to respect the craft. You have to put the work in. He's like, but listen, they're paying us a ton of money to do what children every day, everywhere do for free. You're pretending. You're playing dress up. You're playing dress up on TV. It's not that precious. Okay. It's not that precious. So when you're sitting there and you're writing a million notes on your paper and he's like, it's not that precious. Think about it. How does a lawyer speak? How does doctor stand? How does priest deliver? How does teacher? It's like, yes, you have to have 1,000 languages. An example, if you think about someone standing at a crosswalk and they're waiting for the signal to change from the hand to walk. There's 3 people. You have a courier, you have a business person, and you have a mom with a stroller, parent with a stroller. The courier bike delivery person didn't have the bike. He's just kind of balancing the pedals just enough to not have to take his feet off, because the second the light turns yellow, he's not even waiting for the hand. He just kind of like looks quickly and he's across the street. He has deliveries to make. The business person is holding their BlackBerry. They're just on their phone. They look up, they see walk. They just walk off the sidewalk and they just walk through the road. They never even look up. They just walk. They just trust no one's going to hit them. The parent with the stroller, it says walk. They look left and right. Before they walk off that corner, they check again for the safety of their child. And then they cross the street as quickly as possible from point A to point B. Languages. You got to have 1,000 languages ready to go. It's pretty pragmatic. So for me, I embody daily what it is to be bartender. You know, what do they do? They roll up their sleeves. Hey, how you doing? What can I get you? You wipe down, blah, blah, blah. You might have a towel over your arm. You come over to do the bill. I've been out 1,000,000 times. How does teacher talk? How does lawyer talk? How does dentist talk? So on and so forth. If you have all those things kind of ready in your toolbox, when you get the audition, now you're just memorizing lines, because then you get to stand there and just like do the thing that you've already thought about 1,000,000 times. So if you're with me in public, it's kind of annoying because I'm always just looking at people, and I'll look at the table and I'm like, what does this dude do? You're wearing red bottoms at Earl's, which means you are dumb because you're trying to show off. It's not your girl. You're trying to impress her. You brought her to Earl's in red bottoms. Why are you wearing red bottoms? Okay. I'm like, all right, so he made $100,000. Okay. All right, cool. I got that. And I just brought his language in, and I'm gonna get an audition with that guy, and I'm gonna know what it feels like. Because I thought about it, I think about it, or when I watch TV and movies. So that was the most long-winded way to get to what you've asked, which is by the time I get a character or the audition and I book it, a lot of times we don't get a ton of time before we get to set. You know, I might book something on Wednesday if it's a Hallmark set and we're on camera. I'm on set on like Monday. So you kind of almost have to stay ready in your languages. But if not, the piece of advice is to pragmatically think about how those people exist in the real world. Just imagine that. I think that's the best piece of advice that I could give it. You know, I played a pastor in a movie, My Mom's Letter for Heaven, and the child's mom passes away. When I play this pastor, I go to the hospital for like last rites, you know, to pray over them. How does a pastor at what speed and cadence would a pastor speak? It's not to be somber, it's joy, but it's not lawyer. It's not, Your Honor, I stand here before you, Your Honor. No, objection. It's not anything like that. But you have to have those on standby. Otherwise, you're going to spend too much time trying to create cop. It's going to take you too long to create FBI agent. You know what I mean? Have those 1,000 languages and you'll be all right.
That's truly the thing, though. As an actor, as a performer, you need to people watch, and I feel that with your languages, it's the language of everyday life. You see it, but you don't see it if you don't look. 100%. And that's what I feel like you've clearly done that, and it's continual homework that I'm sure you're doing continually to this day.
100%.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I'm really fortunate that like in my very short career, you know, I've only played like one role 2 times. Like I was a cop in Almost Human, and I played an FBI agent in Ruthless. But other than that, man, my whole resume, it's very diverse, and I feel very fortunate because especially in a market like Vancouver pre-COVID, you know, a lot of people, their whole resume is the exact same thing. You know, you're a soldier, you know, you're a teacher, you're an assistant, you're the same thing. And I'm not knocking people's body of work. I'm thanking God for the fact that I played a doctor, I played a writer, I played a lawyer, and it's been very, very diverse. Yeah. But when you watch them, a friend of mine's wife saw me at the gym the other day, and she came up to me, and she's not one of these very like, she's not the person that gas you up. You know, some people are like, oh my God, you're so great, I love you so much. Simona's not that person. Shout out Simona.
Okay.
And she came up to me, she goes, hey man, I watched Love Is a Piece of Cake. We play Howard. I played like this high energy kind of nerd, not full blown nerd, but like he's nerd-esque, and which is actually me. And she said, listen, I watch all those Hallmarks. I've seen a bunch of your movies. She goes, I actually have a couple friends that are actors. But when I watch them act, it's just them. I see them doing the thing. But when I watch you, I forget that it's you. I started the movie knowing it was you, but as I watch, it felt like Howard. And when you're in Merry Little Christmas, you feel like Julian. And when you're on Ruthless, you feel like Agent Brian Rollins. And it's only when I kind of step back and I'm like, oh my God, that's my friend Jamie. And she was like, I just had to tell you that. And I was like, oh, yo, thank you. That was a really, really, really dope compliment because for me, that's mission accomplished.
Yeah.
There's so many actors that play one note, and they might play that one note very well, good for them. But I want to have that Daniel Day-Lewis type of, variety where casting and producers say, like the other day, a casting director told my agent that I was a chameleon. They're like, he can play anything. One casting director had me going out for a 45-year-old something and another role that I was like in college, and they were like, Jamie can do it. He can play. Is he available? And they're like, nah, he's not available.
Oh, dude, versatility. That's awesome.
Versatility is important. And of course, if that's not your lane, that's okay. Like if your lane is playing the brawny soldier or like the geeky assistant, sidekick, whatever it may be, then cool. Play that, right? Like win in your lane.
Yeah.
But then at that point, your team's not going to be sending you the auditions for all these various roles. They're only going to send you those for like your lane, right? So
right.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Gotta take the risk to expand your what is it? Your not just versatility, but your scope, your ability. Yeah.
I mean, it makes you more well-rounded performer. Your access to roles are potentially gonna be more fulfilling. Like you look at Mahershala, you look at all these people that they can play. They're such great performers that they can play anything and we'll believe it because they're really great actors. Viola Davis can play. I look for Shailene Woodley. Like there's a bunch of these women. Emily Blunt. Like you watch them and they can be cutesy, they can be sexy, they can be pretty, they can be smart, they can be badass, they can be soft, they can be meek, they can be like abused, and you're just like, holy, what can you not do, Emily Blunt?
Yeah,
I know.
What can you not do, Viola Davis? The answer is nothing. Awesome. They can do everything.
yeah, exactly.
That's where I'm struggling though.
Dude, you're killing it though. Yes, again, a testament to your craft and your dedication, just because the eclectic nature of your whole portfolio, man. Keep it up, man. It's awesome. Also, just to wrap it up here with this last question, we're living in unprecedented times right now. We're underneath still a lockdown. There's a pandemic still raveling right now. As an artist, what does being an artist mean to you right now?
Right now, I think it means a lot more than ever before. I'm able to. I've been fortunate that last year I did a couple. We got our season 2 of Ruthless.
Yeah.
I was on Nancy Drew for a little couple episode arc. I did 5 or 6 movies, and my first Upside Down Magic, my first Disney movie came out last year, and it just got moved to Disney Plus. So I was really fortunate that basically almost weekly, if not every other week, there was something that I was able to give the world to watch to entertain them in this time of unprecedented time in our generation of just being locked in your house.
Yeah.
We've never needed fresh content more than right now when you can't just go to like the open gym and play ball. A lot of places, gyms are closed. You can't, restaurants and lounges and clubs and all the things that one might have done to have fun are closed. So, being able to provide people with a source of entertainment and maybe even just like a little like a nickel worth of pleasure in their afternoon or evening makes me feel like really happy.
Amazing.
It brings me joy when people watch these movies or television shows with them and they DM me or message me wherever and say, man, like I was having a terrible weekend and then I watched your movie and it like for those 2 hours it made me feel I forgot about COVID. I'm like, mission accomplished.
That's the way, man.
Yeah,
that's the way.
So it's extra special for me right now. Extra special for me right now.
Amazing, awesome. Let's give it up for Jaime Callica here. Amazing. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my God. Are you good if we go for word association right now?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay.
All
Josh, will
right.
explain it?
Yeah, for sure. So to our any of our new listeners, usually at the end of our podcast, we like to play this game, word association game, kind of as a palate cleanser. You know, we've been talking some deep technical stuff, kind of heady emotional stuff. Now we just want to like get a sense of like what's your subconscious telling you, Jamie. So we basically I have 10 words, Lucas has 10 words,
All right.
and we're gonna go through it where like I'll say a word and then you, with like your head clear, you know, it's open, whatever your initial reaction is or like what your association with that word is, you say it, and then we'll go word for word and then see what happens, and then Lucas will have his 10 words.
I gotta also try to keep it PG.
Oh, don't.
Well, I mean, you could keep it not PG. You could go hard R. It's like, to be honest, like we haven't really established, you know, we just have it unrated. Yeah, it's
cool.
like people swear, we swear, you know, it's all good.
Cool.
All good.
All right.
Okay,
All right,
so
let's
I'll start first with my 10, then Lucas.
All
so, Jamie, clear your mind. Everything's open. First word is family.
Mom.
Pineapple.
Not on pizza.
Rain.
Vancouver.
Alone.
Sucks.
Motivation.
Family.
Kumquat.
What's a kumquat?
It's a fruit. Kumquat.
Oh, I've never had it. Sounds naughty.
Mountain.
Too high.
Tightrope.
Scary.
Satisfied.
Boobs. Wow. Boobs. Why did that? I do love boobs though. I really do.
Hey, I feel like we can all agree. I think we can agree there. And finally, ending.
Grandchildren.
Ooh, that's an interesting. We haven't had that before. Oh, do you want to elaborate? Like ending grandchildren, like that's the legacy element. Is like, you know what? That's it. Once you got it.
I went like the last couple. I had a couple weeks, and I'll be talking to Arj, and she'd be like, "You think these thoughts daily?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've been thinking about dying. Not like in a bad way. Like thinking about when I die. Hopefully in like 50 years." And and for 2 weeks I've been envisioning what it looks like, and it's like I'm in bed and it's a regal. I'm in like the Callica Castle, Callica Manor, and like all of my kids and like the grandkids and cousins, and they're all there, and they're like holding my hand, and I have like a sexy large-breasted nurse just putting like ice chips in my mouth. And my wife hates it, but like she's getting old, so she just doesn't shut it down, and like. And everybody's there, and then I like die like peacefully in my sleep, and then I just like wake up with my granny and like Michael Jackson with Jesus, and it's just like, Lord, thank you for giving me 90 years. But the grandchildren are also kind of older, and it's funny enough because I envision them being around like 25 years old, and 25 was before 2019 was my favorite like year of my life. Like it was just a great year. Like money and my relationships and like my car, everything. 25 was a great year. And for whatever reason, as I picture me in this bed in this like omniscient view, like this bird eyes view, my grandkids are 25. They look 25. So in the end, I hope to have my whole family and my grandkids.
Yeah. Wow, that was a whole fucking pilot episode, is what that was. That was a whole, and then it's like it's just you in heaven.
Yeah, we start my whole movie, dude. I'm writing a script right now. I might have to start a new one where my movie starts with me on that deathbed. Yeah, I think I might have to add that scene to this feature I'm writing.
Nice.
Yeah, it'll be dope.
Wow, you know what? That's a first for our podcast. We haven't had our word associations kind of expand to that level there. So that's great.
Brother's deep.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. From boobs to that. Yeah.
From boobs.
I'm versatile. I'm versatile if nothing else, man. I'm versatile.
Exactly. Fucking chameleon right here, man.
Right. Yeah.
All right, you ready for the next 10?
Let's go.
All right. Zen space. Feel loose, man. Loosen up. All right. First word of 10. Janet Jackson.
My lover.
Nice. Plan B.
There is no plan B.
Love it. Why?
Did you say Hawaii or why?
Oh, why?
Oh, for my mom.
Which brings me to my next word, mum.
Best.
Nice. Next one, Tyler Perry.
My guy.
Nice, nice. Purpose.
Kindness.
Nice. Vancouver.
Miss Toronto.
Toronto.
Home.
This is bizarre. Next word, home.
Toronto.
And the last one, Jamie.
Legend.
There we are.
There it is.
Give it up for Jaime Callica. Oh my
Killing it.
God, there we are. Where can people find you? What are your handles?
So both Instagram and Twitter are at my name, JAIME CALLICA. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everything is just at my name. I love my name a lot. So at Jaime Callica is where you can find me. Reach out, send me a DM, a tweet, whatever. I try to respond to most of them. I love when people actually. It's cool because I know you want to wrap it up, but like one of the things that's funny is that from small I always wanted to I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a star one day, right? Like my autobiography from in grade 3, like how much life have I lived writing an autobiography. Said A Star Is Born. I always knew that it would be my thing, and it was just like in there. And it's crazy because while it's the single thing that I've wanted my whole life, like to get to that pinnacle, the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
As it's happening, I don't realize that it's happening. I feel like I'm so focused on the work and just like keeping my head down. I don't interfere with anybody. I don't go after no dude's girl. Like I'm just over here trying to like work hard and just win, outwork everybody. My saying is never let them outwork you. I'm outworking everybody, and everybody else is being affected by what they're calling celebrity. And I'm like, and people will DM me, and I'll reply because like, isn't that the point of a message? And and they'll be shocked, dude. Like they're utterly surprised. They screenshot it. They post it on their story or on their feed. They tag me like tears, and I'm like, look at the essence of what I just did is exactly what we're talking about. I replied to a DM, and it made their whole day, week, month. And I know it's like Kim Kardashian 10 years ago. Like that's me today. People in a year or 3 or 5 are gonna look back, because at some point I'm gonna have 1 million, then I'm gonna have 10 million, 100 million, of whatever it is, and I'm not gonna be able to reply to every comment like I can now. I'm not gonna be able to reply to every DM like I can now.
Yeah.
But people that I like, early day like fans, are gonna have those nuggets, and I look forward to someone in say 3 or 5 years when I'm really big sending me like a little screen grab or a message being like, man, do you remember like 5 years ago when ... and I'm gonna be like, yeah, I do, and you're still rocking with me, and I appreciate you. It's just I look forward to stuff like that, like real nerdy. Or like one day, maybe a month ago, I said, for all of my fans, like at my first 100,000 people, like I'm closely approaching 100,000. I'm like, my first 100,000 people,
yeah,
I promise you that at some point in the future, I'm gonna do an event, like wherever can hold 100,000 people. I don't know.
Yeah.
And if you guys can prove that you were rocking with me at top 100,000,
right,
you're gonna come away for like a night, and I'll pay for it. Like, get yourself to Arizona, but like your accommodation or tents or whatever it is I do, and it's gonna be like a night or 2 of just like fun. Like I might not shake 100,000 hands, but like, because I'm still formulating it, but in 5 or 10 years, they're gonna go and there's gonna be like bouncy castles and pools and like just all the liquor and whatever, and I'll throw like $1 million at a huge party for like my day oneers.
Yeah.
They got to be able to prove that, somehow. But like that means something to me, man. Like if you watch any of my stuff, or you send me a DM to tell me that you enjoyed that show or that whatever it is that I was in, like, it means something to me. So the least I could do is reply to your message.
Yeah. Dude, count us both as huge fans of your present, and also I see huge things in your future too, man. I can't wait.
Thank you.
Can't wait, man.
You're 100,000. You're in.
Fucking right.
You're 100,000, 100,000, the 100K, 100K.
Get some free liquor. It's gonna be great.
Just before we do wrap, there was one time that you answered my question and you actually like voice memoed it to me. It was about like finding how to make money as an actor.
Oh.
And to this day, like I literally replayed it like 2 weeks ago because I'm like, dude, he took the time to do our podcast too and everything like that, and really appreciate it. So thank you so much for showing your time, your generosity, and you're totally grateful for it. So thank you so much.
Thank you for reaching out. I was happy to come talk with you. You know, so I've done like a lot of press now, and there have been I'll be honest, there have been times where I got off and I was like, oh my god, that was so like it was like they took the exact questions from like the last interview I did, and they asked the exact questions. And I found myself trying to find ways to answer the exact same questions differently.
Yeah,
like, this is so dry. Why? And I'm like calling my PR team, be like, yo, I'm never doing that show again. No. I pay you, Melissa. I'm not. Fine, Melissa. I will. Okay, fine. I'll do it. Don't yell. Like, but some people are so bad. I'm like, but this has been dope. Like, dope questions and like the content of it was awesome. And I got to say boobs at least once. You asked me about Janet Jackson. That's great. I love boobs so much.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, I mean, hey, you've been a great guest, really getting there, really being generous with your thoughts and ideas, and we really appreciate it. I mean, like, that's essentially where we want to get to with the podcast is really showing that everybody has their own approach to it, sharing your approach to making it. Not everybody's going to have the same one, but if you can get something out of this, you know, if something you said is able to help somebody listening and understand wanting to make it, is like that's where we're trying to get to. So,
no, that's important.
Appreciate it.
If you could take one nugget away, like I say this all the time, if you could learn one thing in your day, you've bettered yourself. You know, like day in and day out, you are moving forward. Which is why I have this thing about like hindsight being 20/20. I don't think I think that's a made up thing for like people that want to let themselves off the hook. Because if you're making what you deem was the best choices in the now, then tomorrow you're a different person. You've evolved, right? So when people say, oh, like a year ago, 2 years, 5, that person they dated, oh my God, hindsight's 20/20. No, I disagree with that, because then you were a different person. You are a completely different being a year or two later. So it's not hindsight. It's simply like you're looking at an old version of you that made choices that you simply might not make today. It's not hindsight. It's time travel is what you're doing. You know what I mean?
like it.
So like I would say, if you could learn one thing, so if the viewers or listeners can get one nugget, then I'm happy. And if they didn't get one nugget from me, like, I don't know, man, send me a DM. I'll give you your money back. I don't know. If you get one nugget from all of that, I think they're the problem. But
Josh, where can people find you, man?
At Josh Yang Comedy across everything. And don't forget, I also do have the Sleep with Josh podcast, where I use my monotone voice to read you to sleep with dry material like the dictionary, laws, terms of service. So, you know, if you want to listen to me read the weather, I got that as well. So Sleep with Josh podcast, that's also there. And Lucas, hey, what are your handles?
People can find me across social media at Lucas John Ng. Last name again is 2 letters NG. If you like and see what you hear, please follow us at HWMIY podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast, and also YouTube if you want the good visual content right here. Exactly. Give it up for Jamie one more time again. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. We'll see you all next week.
See ya.